Pastor, I've got a question here. When we look at the book of Revelation, it talks about liars, that all liars will go to hell. In that context, what is it talking about? And also, if you're a believer and well, you say a white lie, hey, car smacks you, you're done. You going to hell? Answer that.
Well, in Revelation 21:8, it says, all liars shall be cast into the lake of fire. And Pastor Sean, I can't emphasize enough the importance of what I'm about to say. If you go outside of the Bible to what we define as lying, white lies is a lie,
right.
A lie is a lie, a lie, a lie. But if you go to the Bible, which interprets itself, you go to 1 John. And 1 John clearly says that who is a liar? He who says that Christ did not come in the flesh. So it's rejection of Christ that makes them a liar, because they're saying that God is a liar.
Right.
Okay, just like 1 John, when he says, if you say you haven't sinned, you make God to be a liar. Okay, you're really calling God a liar.
Wow.
So the lying context is based on either rejecting Christ, and 1 John was written to Gnostics that did not believe Jesus came in flesh.
That's right.
But he was just a spiritual man in the flesh. He had no relativity at all. That's completely wrong, because Hebrews 10 said, a body thou hast prepared for me. Romans 8 talks about, in verse 3, what the law couldn't do, in that it was weak in the fallen man. God sent his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh.
Right.
To condemn sin in our behalf, in order that the righteousness of the law, because he perfected us in the law, he fulfilled the law, can now be manifested in us. So to answer your question, real simply, is that lying contextually is rejecting that Jesus Christ came in the flesh. So that's who a liar is.
Right.
That rejects Jesus Christ as their Savior.
Right. So you have to look at context. Context is key when reading the scripture. Somebody says, oh, you know where the liars go? All liars go to hell. And then people, they'll tell a little kid that, or which is not right. But you tell a person that, but you got to look at context.
No.
And context is key when looking at scripture.
I'll give you a perfect illustration. I was involved in the LED world with patents and enjoyed inventing early on in probably 97, 98. And that's when LEDs wasn't even a light source. They were just like a little thing on your, maybe on your stereo, a little bitty light that lit up, okay? And so back then we made a patent that we would exchange the fluorescent, gaseous, high voltage, and convert it into LEDs to replace it for the fluorescent. Another company was 6 months ahead of us. We claimed a rod, and there's reasons why we did. They claimed a tube. You actually need a columnator, which is a rod, and in a tube, it's only, it's not omnidirectional, it's singular. Now, the reason I bring that up and put it in the context of a liar and interpreting the Bible is because we did fail, okay, and lost in the lower court. While we were in the higher court, there was a precedent case at the Supreme Court level that said, if you don't get your definition out of the description of your patent, you can't go to Webster's dictionary. They did not put in there what they quoted as a reason a rod and a tube was the same, because Webster dictionary didn't differentiate it. So from there, they remanded it to the lower court, and we won that case, okay, and sold it to Samsung, okay? So the bottom line, why am I saying that? Just like that patent, they don't allow you to go to Webster or some commentary. In fact, the Bible sheds a lot of light on commentaries, I can promise you that, okay? And the reality is the Bible interprets itself. Let me give you one good example, and then I'm through. When Paul said, I count all things dung, okay, that I might win Christ. And then he puts all of his accolades, and he's saying all of that had really no purpose except what it did to bring me to Christ, okay? Right. So one of my sons in the gospel, Scott Dufour, pointed this out. And for years, I just thought it's a bunch of, dung.
Dung.
Yeah. I would say
Yeah,
you know,
dung.
poo-poo,
Say
but
dung.
that,
Just-
but some kid might be
Keep it biblical. Context. Context.
Yeah, so he showed that in the red heifer, that the dung was used, human dung was used because it was methane, and you could light the dung, and that's the fire they used to go ahead and make the ashes out of the red heifer. That was important to the temple and the sacrifice. So what Paul is saying, that all my Jewish learning, all of what I've learned from Genesis to Malachi and what God has shown me became the fuel to bring me to recognize the red heifer who is Christ. And I count it as just something that fueled me and brought me to Christ, okay? And so that now becomes refuse and no longer usable, and now we come fully to Christ.